I'm going to show you 2 ways that I like to set up a hip airplane exercise for muscle and tendon loading in the outer hip and the glutes. So one thing that I think is really key with this is, even though this is a single leg exercise, I don't want it to be about fighting for your balance on a single leg the whole time. So you can see I've got a lot of surfaces around me, and the purpose of that is to make this as stable as possible so I can really load it up and generate as much force as possible through the outer hip. You'll always be a little bit limited in force output if you're having to fight for your balance. So I'm going to have hand support and support for my back foot. So generally the setup for the hip airplane and the motion looks like this. I'm going to put 2 hands on this stool, and you can use like a stool or a chair seat at home. And then I prop my back foot up onto the bench. And this could be like another chair seat, an ottoman, edge of a sofa. You could even put your foot against a wall so that this back leg is stabilized, right? It's lifted. I have my full weight through this standing leg, through my right leg, but I have this touch for balance support and just to kind of guide the motion. And then the hip airplane movement looks like this. I'm trying to keep this right knee pointing straight ahead. So I'm working to turn this right leg out a little bit. And then I'm dropping my left knee down and in toward midline to turn my belly toward my inner right thigh. So I'm creating a lot of stretch through the outer right hip. And then as I open out to the side, I'm lifting the left side of my pelvis up, and I'm contracting and shortening these muscles in the right side hip. So this is called a hip airplane because it's kind of like an airplane that's tipping. I forget what the technical term is for when an airplane does that, but it's tipping side to side. So it's like my pelvis, my abdomen is facing the floor and then turning a little bit toward my right inner thigh. And then I just turn my abdomen, front of my pelvis, open to the left toward this lifted knee. And already I feel really a ton of muscles lighting up here, deep in the glute on the right side. So it might be plenty to do this exercise with body weight, just as I'm demonstrating here, and working towards a really full range of motion, of rotation over that right thigh. If you want to add resistance to this with a loop, I would recommend putting it just above your knees, so on the thighs, just above the knees. This is going to give me a lot more workload here. So same setup, same motion. With the band, it looks like this, and I'm just trying to push the knees apart the whole time. Woo! And then I really feel it in this leg, the lifted leg, as well. So then it becomes almost like a clamshell that you've just kind of stood up onto one leg, but you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck here than a lying on your side clamshell exercise, because you're bearing all of your body weight on this single leg. So we're working with a lot of standing hip stability when you do an exercise in this way. So that's a hip airplane with a band. You can also do this one with a weight, and this is kind of fancy. I'm going to use a kettlebell. So what I'm going to do for this, again, I'm just going to keep demonstrating this same side so you get the idea. I'm going to bring this weight around my back and grasp it with both hands over here by my left side hip. And I'm going to try to keep it anchored to the side of my pelvis as I go through this exercise. So it's going to add weight to the left side. The left side is the side where I don't have a leg to stand on, right? So I've added more weight to the side of the body that does not have a limb support. So that means that the muscles in the right side of my hip are responsible for holding up the left side of my pelvis, and this weight, as I do that same, oh boy, that's intense, kind of hard to talk while I do it, do that same hip airplane motion. I'm lifting not just the weight of my pelvis and left leg, but also lifting the weight of this kettlebell that I'm holding opposite my standing leg. So that is a hip airplane with a weight. You could hold a kettlebell or a dumbbell. It's a little bit awkward, take some practice, but you can work it out, and it's a nice way to load those side hip muscles even more.